How we doing, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I am your host, Trage. Today, joined by my partner here and Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I have Austin here. Austin, how are we doing on this Tuesday?
Happy Tuesday. Let's have a great Tuesday, huh? How about that?
That's what I'm thinking. We got to, yesterday a little bit kind of flew off the rails. We were talking about all the negatives in the world of Wisconsin sports right now. Let's flip it back and maybe try and find if there's a positive out there in any kind of Wisconsin sports. And I know yesterday we talked about the Badgers, and we were talking about how this Badger game, everything that they did wrong in this one, how that led to the loss and everything like that. What we didn't mention in any of that was it was kind of impressive. A 24-10 loss to an Ohio State team, a number 3 Ohio State team, who is not the greatest Ohio State team Wisconsin has played in this 10, I think they're at a 10-game losing streak against them now. In this 10-game stretch, not the best one they've played, but still a pretty darn good team. And this Badger team held its own for most of this game. And I really do think we need to go back on that and kind of reiterate what we were trying to state there with that Badger game. They had what really sucked about it, and we're going to get into what Luke Fickell had to say a little bit more tomorrow. We got stuff we got to talk about today. But what really stuck out to me was that these guys know how close they were. You listen to what Hunter Wohler had to say after the game. You listen to some of these other guys talk. They knew how close they were. A couple plays here and there, they were in this ball game through and through. And that's what I think the Badgers can really build off of moving forward here. And I know you thought that you were thinking the same thing. What do you got for that?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, even though they lost, a close game against a really good team can propel you forward into the future. You try to look at the bright things. You look at their defense, how good their defense played. Now their offense, obviously, we talked about it yesterday. They didn't play the best, but they had shining moments out there of, hey, we moved the ball on the number 3 ranked team in the nation. So you kind of look at those bright spots. We talked about how Braylon Allen, he's hurt. DK, he's hurt. So now we got to start turning the table to see who we can get the ball to make these plays.
Yeah, 100%. And like you were talking with the defense there, I saw some impressive stats on Hallman. We were praising Hallman yesterday because of his work on Marvin Harrison in that ball game. Looking at Hallman on the season so far, a 51% completion percentage against him there, 29.7 yards per game, 0 touchdowns given up by Hallman. He's got 5 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and a passer rating of 32.1. Those are some impressive stats out of Hallman, and also against Ohio State, didn't give up a single pass to Marvin Harrison when he was the sole defender of him. That is some impressive work, and I mean, they have to be looking at Hallman right now for some defensive awards because we didn't really see a bright spot in the secondary for the Badgers to begin this season. Hallman's kind of been steady all throughout. Now we're starting to see it, especially against number 3 Ohio State. He proved, I'm the guy. I'm the guy on this defense right now, and you guys have to watch out for me. We were kind of watching Hunter Wohler. Hallman was flying underneath the radar, and now that we're starting to see teams pass a lot more against Wisconsin, we're really seeing Hallman for what he is. Moving forward, though, you get into situations where you're going to have teams that are going to target this secondary. They're going to have that one receiver, like we saw against Ohio State. Marvin Harrison was the guy. Would you, moving forward, we talked about it yesterday, trailing Harrison with Hallman? Moving forward, is that something that you would explore? Because the rest of the secondary for Wisconsin, not so impressive. Hallman, though, that's some impressive stuff that he's been showing so far. So, in your opinion, would the Badgers be better off trailing guys with Hallman? Using that one-on-one matchup, your best versus their best. Is that what you would do moving forward there?
Yeah, first off, like you said, Hallman's kind of been under the radar. Like, we're going into the season, I don't really know that many guys except for Hunter Wohler. I think we all thought that Hunter Wohler is going to be like their go-to secondary guy. But now Hallman's coming in here and playing phenomenal for a Badger secondary that has been struggling. And yeah, I think if there are some of these teams that have this go-to wide receiver, why not stick your best DB on him and make them have to go to other skill players that might not be as good as their top guy. Then maybe we should try and utilize that a little bit more. And at this point in the season, like, we had a really close game with Ohio State, and you saw Coleman have a really good game against Marvin Harrison, but when he was on Marvin Harrison kind of took over, had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. So maybe try and look back on that game and be like, yeah, Holman had a really good game on on their best wide receiver. Maybe we should take that and apply it to our next game in the future and see if it works out. It's just a shot in the dark. You never know. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, then scheme for another thing.
100%. I agree with that. I just think that is Tressel needs a scheme for stuff like that right now, because that is the Badgers' best option, especially right now. The West is a mess. Looking at the West right now, they have, I think, 4 teams tied at 3-2 right now. My stat checker is going to check it out for me right now. He's dialing into it. What do you got for me? What are we at in the Big Ten West?
I'm looking. Yeah, so Big Ten West, we got Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Wisconsin all tied with 3-2.
So there's the possibility. You don't have the tiebreaker against Iowa right now, but you have Minnesota left on the schedule. You have Nebraska yet. So you got 2 games against those 2 guys. You can knock them out. There's a potential you get back to a Big Ten championship game. You might have to face an Ohio State team one more time. Pray that it isn't Michigan, because they have a lot more weapons, but they have a lot more crap going on behind the scenes right now that could affect Michigan down the stretch. Ohio State, though, you have the possibility of facing them one more time. So moving into that game, that's where this defensive scheme we're talking with Hallman kind of being that guy on Harrison that could be key in that kind of ball game. Allowing Hunter Wohler, I thought in that one, when Wohler was in the backfield, when they brought him on the blitz, that is when Ohio State was kind of stagnant on offense. They couldn't get anything going when Wohler was flying in those gaps. And I think they have to continue to do that moving into these next games here, moving forward. But bad news for the Badgers. And you don't even know if it's bad news, because I hate when coaches do this. I know it's what they have to do, but I hate when they do it. Luke Fickell came out and he tells us, I don't know what's going on. He said he was out there at practice last night, but he couldn't do much of anything. Okay? What does that tell us? He's on the practice field, at least, Braylon Allen. He's on the practice field. We don't know if he's broken. We don't know if he tore something. He was in a boot on the sideline. That's as much as we know about Braylon Allen. He was in such rough shape. We've seen Braylon Allen play injured before. He was in such rough shape that he could not go back out there for the second half of that game against Ohio State, in a game that he wanted to play in. So something happened to Braylon Allen. So moving forward here, you're going to have a backfield with Jackson Aker and Cade Yakimelli.
I've never heard of that guy.
No, I barely heard of Jackson Aker before this year. Aker has some promise. I thought he's had a lot of promise. I don't think they've utilized him as much after Chez Mellusi got hurt. They kind of went stagnant on Braylon Allen, pretty much just Braylon Allen out there. Maybe Jackson Aker surprises us here. Maybe it flourishes. But we're starting to see how much missing Chez Mellusi is really affecting us now, because he's like your Aaron Jones to your Packers. Chez Mellusi was that guy for us, the different kind of back. He was that speed threat in the backfield where Braylon Allen's more of the bruiser. Now at this point, Jackson Aker is kind of not a carbon copy of Braylon Allen, but a big guy, can get downhill, but he doesn't have that breakaway speed like you really want in the backfield there for an option. Cade Yakimelli, we don't know much about him. You got much on Cade Yakimelli?
I couldn't even tell you where the kid's from. I ain't gonna lie. I've never heard of him.
Get on the stats. We got Cade, C-A-D-E, and then Yakimelli, for anybody who doesn't know how to spell it there, Y-A-C-A-M-E-L-L-I.
Here we go. Well, let's see here.
Wrong, if somebody knows the pronunciation for it, and I just bashed it, send it to me on Facebook how to pronounce it.
He's a redshirt freshman out of Pennsylvania, 6 feet
Okay.
tall, and he had
Okay.
one attempt for -4 yards. So,
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was they brought him in there all against Ohio State, wasn't it?
yep,
Yeah,
that's his
I'm
only
pretty
carry
sure
against
he
Ohio
got
State. Yep.
that Hawaiian guy from Ohio State. I'm pretty sure completely cleaned his clock in the backfield on a blitz. First time he got in there, just got his clock cleaned, and then they pulled him out. Never saw him again.
Yep.
So we have a backfield now of question mark behind a quarterback in Braden Locke, who is still green, still working through the kinks right now. A wide receiving group that, well, when they catch the ball, has the possibility to break one open, but they're struggling to hang on to passes right now. And an offensive line who is struggling right now. So prayers to Braylon Allen that it's a speedy recovery and we can get him back on the football field because we might need him pretty soon. Indiana is starting to look like a scary game if Braylon Allen is not involved in that one.
Yeah, and so what I'm just thinking here, you said that Brandon Allen, Luke Fickle told that he was like out on the practice field but not doing a whole lot. Is that what you said, right?
Yeah, he couldn't do much of anything, is what he said. So your most generic coach answer to a injury report.
Yeah, and that could be also he just doesn't want to say a whole lot on his status right now. Um, I know some guys they'll be injured up until Friday, and then all of a sudden they're ready to go because they just want to play so bad. That could be the case for Braylon Allen. We could see him return, but him being in a boot, hearing that isn't the best case scenario for us. So more than
It
likely,
kind of
I'm a
think that they're like waiting for a second opinion. It kind
yeah.
of gives me that kind of vibe that
Could
he's
be
not.
could be waiting on X-rays too.
Yep, yep. It kind of makes me think there's no report, so we're not going to tell you anything yet. And later this week, you're going to get the full oh crap moment that says, we're going to lose him for the season here, and now Ches Malusi and Allen are on the shelf.
And we're relying the rest of our season on Cade Yakameli, baby.
Hey, he might surprise us. He might just surprise us. I don't know. You never know with them guys. They come out of nowhere.
True.
But with that, with the Badger talk, we're going to jump over into the Bucks because the Bucks played the Heat last night. That was a 122-114 win for the Bucks. It was a big game for Giannis. Giannis went for 33. He actually, in that one, scored the first, I believe, watching it, I think he had the first 10 points of the game for the Bucks there. Damian Lillard had a better performance in that one, 25 points for Dame. Brooke Lopez had 11. Middleton still kind of on that workload management. 17 minutes for Middleton. He had 5 points in there. Beasley had 5. Struggled shooting again. Not good to see from Beasley. Portis added 16. I think Bobby has been a dynamite off the bench for the Bucks. And Cameron Payne had 11 for the Bucks in this one. Connaughton came for 8. Connaughton, we talked a lot of crap about him yesterday. He kind of came back in this one with 8. What was your big standout in this game against the Heat for you, for the Bucks?
I love seeing Giannis and Damian Lillard finally getting back to Damian Lillard ways for sure. Bobby Portis coming off the bench, putting up 16 points. That's definitely huge. And Cameron Payne also getting 11 points in there also. Malik Beasley is kind of iffy. You know, their first game he scored little points, and then their last game that they played, he scored a decent amount of points, but then now he's back to 5 points. So I think they're still trying to find something to work there. Brooke Lopez with 11 points. I mean, he's more, I don't know, sometimes he scores and then sometimes he'll put up 11 points. But overall, they got the win. And against, I mean, Miami Heat, they're 1-3. But Miami Heat, they still got Jimmy Buckets. They got Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. Like, they still got some pretty good caliber players. So overall, I think this is a very good win for the Bucks.
And they did a good job on Jimmy Butler. Only 13 points for Butler in this one, 4 for 11 shooting. And Thomas Bryant went for 10 points for him, 4 for 7. Bam Adebayo was out for this game for the Heat. So that kind of benefited the Bucks in that aspect.
Yep.
Got Bryant out there, but they did a good job on the bigs in this one. Tyler Harrow had the big game for the Heat. 35 points for Harrow on 12 for 21 shooting, 2 for 5 from downtown. Impressive performance from Harrow, and Duncan Robinson off the bench with 16 points against this Bucks team. So the guards kind of went off against the Bucks in this one.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I said Tyler Hero's going to come to Milwaukee and put up big numbers. I mean, that's just where he's from. And that's exactly what he did. He had 35 points, which is huge. But like you said, only limiting Jimmy Butler to 13 points, especially when he went off against them. I don't know if that, I can't remember if that was last year or 2 years ago when he dropped like 40 or something. He was just going on rampage in the playoffs. So limiting him to 13 points tonight, that's a huge win for the Bucks.
And we got to talk. We're going to flip over the NBA a little bit here, and we're going to talk. Johnny Davis from Wisconsin did make his season debut. He was hurt. He came back for the Wizards there in his season debut. 16 minutes, 2 for 4 from the floor, and he had 5 points to add along with it. Went up against Sam Hauser for the Celtics last night there. 25 minutes from Hauser in that one and 8 points. So cool to see Hauser and Johnny Davis both on an NBA basketball court playing each other. Two Wisconsin guys from around where we are, Stevens Point and La Crosse there, going up against each other in the NBA. Awesome to see there. Jrue Holiday, 11 points for the Celtics in that one. Celtics got the win in that ball game, 126 to 107. But we're not going to talk too much. We don't care about the Celtics and Wizards. I just wanted to report Johnny Davis playing a little bit of ball there for the Wizards. Hope all for the best for Johnny Davis moving forward. But with that, we're going to jump into the Packers because yesterday we had some overreactions. We had some throw some guys, fire some guys, see what happens to them. You know, we're blowing it up. That's basically what we're doing. And, you know, I'm looking back on it yesterday, and we talked about, you know, the dam's broken, and we need to build this thing back block by block. I really do think the biggest step to going block by block is we look at what Matt LaFleur had to say after that game. And he came out and he was talking about there needs to be changes. He said there's going to be changes and it's not going to be cleaning house, anything like that. Okay. What are the changes that he can make besides cleaning house? Now, if I'm sitting in Matt LaFleur's chair right now, I'm looking at my defense. I'm saying, okay, what has my defense proven to me over the years that vouches for Joel Barry keeping his job? I would say not a whole lot. I would say they haven't proven to me, especially over the last two, that Joel Barry can do it. He's got guys on his defense, Rashawn Gary, and he's got Quay Walker. He's got guys like Jair Alexander. Rasul Douglas has been good at times. Keyshawn Nixon. He's got Savage when Savage isn't on the shelf. Wyatt up the middle. He's got Kenny Clark. You have playmakers on this defense. Truth be told, you have playmakers. And Joel Barry can't figure out how to work those playmakers. I do believe that a lot of Quay Walker's problems on the football field stem from lack of focus, which stems from lack of coaching, lack of somebody leading him into battle every time he steps on the football field. He seems like he can be a hothead. I agree. Everybody's got that thing that makes him tick. I think Quay Walker could be controlled. When the Packers lost their defense, when they lost control, I truly thought it was when Zadarius Smith left Green Bay. Zadarius Smith seemed like he was the anchor for this Packers defense. And then when Zadarius Smith left town and the Packers let him go, it seemed like everything was disorganized. There is no organization to the Packers team right now. It seems like from the time they run out of the tunnel till the time that game is done, it's just disorganized. There is no right way. There's no way that the ship's sailing in the right direction. It seems like they go out there just because they have to. Right now, they're just playing for next year's contract, trying to get a good spot in free agency, trying to prove that I still have what I have. It seems like to me, right now, that's what the Packers are playing for. They don't have a coach to get behind. And I was listening to Bill Michaels, and he was talking about a lot of the same stuff. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what he's saying right now. This Packers team has no leadership right now. And if Matt LaFleur cannot get the leadership, and I know you know this, you play at the college level for football, and you know this, if your coach wasn't leading you into battle, and you weren't able to get behind him, rally behind him, ready for a game, you would be okay if somebody else came in and filled his shoes. So from a player perspective, does what I'm saying when you're watching this Packers team and you're comparing it, because you can compare that to what you guys do. I know it's professional to college. I get that. But the game's still the game. Football's still football. So looking at it from your perspective, how would you see it from what you would compare your team or in that aspect to what the Packers have going on right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna say like back when the Packers were good, when they won the Super Bowl, they had Charles Woodson. And then even after that, they had Clay Matthews, and then they had, like you said, Zadarius Smith. But now they have seems like no one. You think it'd be Campbell. Usually it's like that Mike linebacker position that you want to rely on. Whoever's making the most plays, someone that been there, like where we're like back in or where I play lacrosse. Usually it's a senior, like a couple seniors. Those are the guys that they've been there the most. They played the most games. They've been making the most plays on your team throughout how many years that they've been playing. And it seems like the Packers, they're kind of young, it seems like almost. I mean, who's probably the oldest guy on their defense is probably Preston Smith, I'd say probably.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and even so, like, I mean, he's good at times, but other times it's not like he was paired when he was paired up with Zadarius Smith, then it seemed like they both kind of like were together in the leadership role a little bit. But now without him gone, he doesn't seem like he's very local or a vocal leader. And maybe he could be. We don't know that. I mean, obviously we're not in the locker room with them whatsoever. I mean, but like when they're out there playing, it seems like whenever something happens, when they were getting all the interceptions, all the turnovers, they had the choo choo train in the end zone. They're all going to the end zone, all hyping each other up. Seems like there's none of that. I mean, it just sometimes it seems discombobulated a little bit. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's something going on. And then again, it could fall back on being on the coaches. I mean, if the coaches don't have the leadership, then it's hard to find. Then you want to look for that player, and if there's no player, then it's like who do we trust out here? And I think the Packers. I mean, if it's not Quay Walker being that Mike linebacker, Devondre Campbell, then maybe Jair Alexander has to be that guy. But I don't really know what it is for the Packers that is their leader, that captain for them.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing they're missing right now. And you look at the offensive side of the football right now for this Packers team, and it's just as disorganized as the defensive side. I mean, there's no leadership on that offense. Guys are running the same route. They're running into each other. You haven't seen this kind of stuff. I mean, if that's the case, we have problems across the board. If it's not coaching, then it's offensive skill positions. You look at the wide receivers for Green Bay, Watson and Dobbs. I mean, they're all guilty of this conundrum where they're running the same route or they're miscommunications or drop passes. They're all guilty of it. So then you look even further, you look in the backfield right now for Green Bay. Aaron Jones right now isn't getting playing time. A.J. Dillon is not that guy for the Packers. Emmanuel Wilson doesn't get playing time. We haven't seen James Robinson yet. He's on the practice squad yet. So they have problems in the backfield right now. The offensive line, we have so many pre-snap penalties right now. We can't even start 1st and 10. We start out 1st and 15 before we even get a snap off. And Jordan Love seems to, too many times he's losing track of the play clock. He's losing track of guys where they're supposed to be. It seems like he isn't in good cahoots with the wide receivers right now. So if it's not coaching, we have problems at every single skill position. And you know what? Honestly, every position on the Packers team right now. There isn't one position for this Packers team that I would say is completely safe. If you were to say today, we have the opportunity to trade this guy, this team's going to offer us this great package, I don't know if there's a spot that's safe. You maybe on the defense, maybe Rashawn Gary, maybe a couple of those guys. But on the offensive side of it, somebody offered me a good package for Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, or any of those guys. I don't think I could turn it down. I really don't think I could turn it down right now, because if you're not going to blame Matt LaFleur for these problems that the Packers are having, then we have to look at it's in these guys' head. But what's causing them to not be prepared going into games? And I really do think that is coaching. Coaching is the biggest problem for Green Bay.
I think it all comes down to holding each other accountable. You know, when Aaron Rodgers was here, I hate talking about him, but I mean, he was a good leader. And when one of the young wide receivers, they would mess up, he'd hold them accountable. And people may look at that and be like, I mean, this guy's whatever, you know, you might hate him or whatever. Yeah. But like he held them accountable and look how far they were able to go in their seasons. Here, I mean, it seems like LaFleur isn't really holding people accountable as he just keeps saying, oh, we're going to fix this. We're going to try and get better. Like, we need to fix things now, and we need to come out and say, like, yeah, these things are happening wrong, and we need to fix them. But it seems like Jordan Love, like, no one's taking accountability for anything, and no one is fixing any of these problems. Like you said, with wide receivers running into each other and Jordan Love being not able to keep up with the play clock and all that stuff. It's like, at some point, the coaches need to be like, we need to hold you accountable for this type of stuff and figure it out. And yeah, you said Rashawn Gary. You're talking about people who you give away. Well, they just gave Rashawn Gary a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, so I don't think he'll be going anywhere anytime soon. But everyone else, I mean, they're pretty much on. They could be on the chopping block, except for maybe Ellen Jenkins. I mean, he's probably our best O-lineman right now, so I don't really know if they could afford him. But like I've been saying, I mean, Bakhtiari, I mean, for now, I mean, he still holds a little bit of value that you could probably get out of him, and he's taken up so much of our cap space. And how many games has he played? Like 2 in the past 3 years or something? 3 in the past 3 years? I don't even know. Not a whole lot because of injuries. So, I mean, if they were looking to try and find something to get near the trade deadline, which ends at 4 p.m. Eastern today, so we can see still, but maybe we can see someone with David Bakhtiari. But for some reason, the Packers love holding on to him for who knows what reasons, even though he doesn't really produce that much anymore.
I think the only thing you could do if you are the Packers, and this season, I don't even know if you could save it. I really don't know if you could save it. I think the offense is too out of sorts. The one thing that I could think the Packers could do is add some veteran presence in that wide receiver room. Everybody made fun of Rodgers when they said that Randall Cobb got the guys ready. He got the guys ready. And, you know, I get Rodgers should have been there in training camps and everything like that. He should have. That is undeniable. I agree. But having a guy like Randall Cobb there added that stability for those wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers trusted him that he could get these guys ready and that they would be prepared come week 1 of the preseason, come week 1 of the regular season. Cobby was going to get them ready. And I think the Packers are really lacking that. Why they didn't go out and sign somebody, I don't care who it was. I don't care if it was some washed up, like Julio Jones. Got signed by the Titans. Was he signed by the Titans now? Julio Jones got signed by somebody.
Julio Jones on the Eagles, I'm pretty sure now.
Yeah, the Eagles got him. And, you know, he's not the dynamic guy he once was. We're not looking for that. We don't need that. We need somebody in that wide receiver room who, when somebody says something in the huddle, he can say, dude, run this route. Or when somebody messes up, he can say, hey, this is what you got to do. Right now, you have a bunch of rookies running out there on the field together. Aaron Jones is out there for what? 8 snaps in the game? You know, he should be playing 40, 50 snaps a game. Right now, he's playing 7. So you have Aaron Jones, your veteran playmaker, out there for 7 snaps in this ball game. Jordan Love isn't fixing anything by himself. He's too, I like to call him docile. He doesn't like to get in guys' faces. He's too docile of a word. I mean, you look at Kirk Cousins. When somebody messed up, I think it was it a delay of game they had called against him? Kirk Cousins got in his face right away and was screaming at him. I mean, you know, people look at that and they say, oh, he's being a baby and he's, you know, over dramatic. No. He's reminding him, hey, do your job. You do your job, I can do my job. We can make this thing happen. And that's what the Packers are missing. They're missing that guy. Aaron Rodgers got in guys' faces. Tom Brady got in guys' faces. Peyton Manning loved to get in guys' faces. So That's where I'm looking at this Packers team. Who's that guy who's going to get in somebody's face and say, hey, you effed up. This is what you got to do. This is how it's going to be done. If you can't figure it out, there's a seat on the bench for you. Simple as that. I mean, you look back at my favorite story of Peyton Manning. Pat McAfee told it one time, and he said that there was this rookie wide receiver for the Colts, and Manning threw him a ball. He was having a great season, phenomenal season. I can't remember the guy's name. Having a phenomenal season. And Manning threw him a ball, and he tried to catch it with one hand. And he started running. He put his head down because he missed it, started running back towards the huddle, and Manning pointing towards the sideline. And the guy kept running, and Manning said, go. And he's pointing towards the sideline. So he took off for the sideline. Well, coach was on the sideline there, and he's counting the guys on the field. He's like, where's my last guy? And he looks to his right, and he's the wide receiver standing there, and he goes, you're supposed to be out there. And he looks out on the field, and Peyton Manning, no kidding, is pointing towards the bench yet, telling him that he's sitting out. And from that day, he never tried to catch a one-handed pass again from Peyton Manning. But that's the kind of leadership that, like you're talking, that the Packers are missing. That one guy who's going to get in somebody's face and say, hey, this is what needs to happen. You guys need to straighten up or we're going to suck for the rest of the year. Right now, we're seeing the sucking. You can't go any lower than this. I mean, you can't. You lost to the Raiders, you lost to the Broncos, and you've lost to the Vikings. You have not scored a touchdown in the first half in 5 games. That's got to be some kind of record. I think it's the first time since, I think it was 3 years before Brett Favre got to Green Bay that the Packers haven't scored in like 5 weeks of touchdown in the first half. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous stat to even think about. But right now, that's where we're at. You cannot get any lower. So all you can do now is slowly start to build. And this week, they have a game that you could win it, but even if you don't, something to build off of. We talked about it last week going against the Vikings. Same thing leading into this week. Something to build off of moving forward. That's what I think the Packers really need to focus on this next week.
To go off of what you were saying about having someone to get in the face of each other as a leader, I feel like Jordan Love kind of like as a quarterback, you are essentially, even if you don't have the C on your jersey as a captain, you're pretty much the leader of that team, no matter who you are, no matter like how old you are as a quarterback. If you are the quarterback, you're pretty much the leader. And maybe Jordan Love is a little bit timid out there because he doesn't want to get in the face of his players because he is so young, as well as he's playing with younger guys. So like around the same age. And it's like, well, man, if you want, you got to grow a pair of balls and you got to start commanding your team, man. Because, I mean, shit can hit the fan real quick for them. But yeah, they do have a chance against the Rams to do something here. Improve a little bit, work on something, show a little bit of hope for the rest of this year, at least for us Packer fans around here.
Yeah, and right now, I look at the Jordan Love, and it's been a thing that's been bearing on me that I've been really thinking about. You watched Joe Burrow early on in his career, and you watched guys like, I would even stretch as far as Baker Mayfield and other guys who have now proven, Patrick Mahomes and all them guys. They didn't always have great success. Joe Burrow's first season wasn't a Super Bowl season. But you know what you saw? Moments of brilliance. You saw moments where you were like, okay, he might have something. Okay, this might be the guy. I can't say that, honestly, I have had that moment with Jordan Love yet. Week 1 against the Bears, I thought, okay, this guy can be consistent. I didn't think he was over the top. I thought he could be consistent moving forward. But I just haven't been, do you get that same, you've watched these other quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and some of these other guys. I know it's hard to compare guys to those because those are such dynamic quarterbacks. But even Justin Herbert, at times, he's been struggling. But we've seen some moments where you're like, okay, Justin Herbert has a little bit of something. Have you seen that out of Jordan Love yet? That's what kind of worries me with Jordan Love is I've seen it in practice. I've seen some practice throws where I was like, okay, Jordan Love might have it. But I haven't seen it in regular game play yet. And that's where I'm leaning towards, what does he have? What can he bring to the table here for this Packers?
I will say this. Against the Bears, I saw a little bit of hope. And I mean, it was the Bears. It was the first game of the season. And I mean, they put up 30 some points. And then even the next week, they played, was it the Falcons? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the Falcons in week 2. And he struggled, but he still did pretty good in the second half overall. But now, over like since then, it's kind of been downhill, and I've kind of been losing sight of what has you been able to do. But I look back and I'm like, okay, Aaron. I remember 2008, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he got drafted in 2005, and same situation, kind of like Jordan Love, taken 20 something overall. Brett Favre was the quarterback. Brett Favre doesn't want to mentor Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Brett Favre finally leaves to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers did, and so Aaron Rodgers takes over in 2008. Well, let's look back at 2008. 6-10, their record, third in the NFC. Well, that kind of looks kind of familiar, kind of like this year. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us back then, I mean, 2008, I was 5 years old, so I don't remember a whole lot from then. But I'm sure there were a lot of Packer fans that were like, dang, we probably should have kept Brett Favre and not trusted this Aaron Rodgers kid out here. What is he doing making a foolery of our Packers? So, I mean, I really want to hate on Jordan Love, but I mean, it is his first year as a Packer starting. And so I take a look. I look back at the 2008 season. They're 6-10. I look now and we're 2-5, I believe. And I'm like, okay, there's still plenty of season left to see some hope. Just see a little bit of hope. And after this season, well, then maybe we can decide what to do. But I mean, overall, I mean, there's still a lot of season left, and I think we'll still be able to see some of them glimpses that we're trying to look for in Jordan Love.
I definitely don't think you dump Jordan Love right now. Not what I'm trying to say with my worry is that we traded up to get Jordan Love. Yeah. We wasted a lot of Aaron Rodgers' time by getting Jordan Love. We could have got a wide receiver. You look at what I can't remember if it was Ted Thompson said it or who the heck said it about his time with Brett Favre, and that was he wasted Brett Favre's career by not getting him more weapons in Green Bay because they could have brought more Super Bowls to the table. What did the Packers do with Rodgers? Every single year we went after a cornerback. We went after a safety. We got other guys for our defense. We never got Rodgers' help on the offensive side. We always got that third-round draft pick or the fourth-round wide receiver. We never went for the proven guy. So my worry is that now that we got Jordan Love, say this time next year, we're sitting in the same boat. Now, what do you do? Because now you've waited. You've had a year, and this would be almost a year and a half of this Jordan Love experience. You're still struggling. That's where my worry comes in with Jordan Love is that if Matt LaFleur cannot right the ship, if Matt LaFleur cannot make something happen, then you need to get somebody else in there to work with Jordan Love, to work with this offense, to try and get something in the right direction, because I feel like under bad leadership, Jordan Love's career could be over before it starts. Even if he's got some potential, even if he's got some, if you don't have the right coach in the system, if you're not putting that quarterback in the good position to win, he's going to look terrible. He's going to consistently look terrible. I mean, you look at Brock Purdy with the San Francisco 49ers. Would you have expected that of Brock Purdy coming out of college, that he was going to be on the 49ers, win the starting job, should have win in that? Did they make it to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship?
NFC Championship, they lost.
NFC Championship, I mean, he got hurt anyways, but if he stays in there, they probably win that game. So, I mean, they didn't have a quarterback when it was all said and done. So, basically, I mean, you look at that kind of scenario, Tua Tagovailoa sitting down there in Mike McDaniel's offense down there with the Dolphins right now. Nobody thought Tua could do what he's doing, but you put him in the right system, it works. So that's where I'm thinking with the Packers right now. If Matt LaFleur cannot right the ship, you need to let that go and get somebody else in there, because otherwise this Jordan Love was a waste of draft pick. If you bring in another head coach or another play caller and they can't right Jordan Love, now you know, okay, it wasn't the play calling. It had something to do with Jordan Love being inconsistent or whatever it is with Jordan Love's game that isn't there. But I think a lot of it comes down to play calling right now. Everybody has their own discretions right now with the Packers. We're a struggling group of people right now trying to find the answers for the Packers. And it just ain't there. It's not happening right now. It's a struggle.
We haven't experienced this in a long time. I mean, we're looking like the Bears out here, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. It's tough to watch, but you know what? I continue to watch.
Play the Bears one more time. I don't like that we have to play the Bears one more time because it worries me. It truly does worry me that something.
If we lose to the Bears, it questions my existence of a Packer fan, and I don't want to say that. I mean, I lie. I'm always gonna be a Packer fan, obviously. But it makes me question some things, for sure.
Hey, I'm jumping ship back to the Texans. That's what I'm going to do if I have to.
Really? Even though they just lost to the Panthers, you're going to jump right back, huh?
Whoa. We still suck.
Who's we? Who's we? What side are you on here? What side are you on?
I'm half jumping ship already. I got one foot on that boat, one foot on the other boat. I'm just teetering right now, seeing which one sinks first. Hey, that's all I'm going to say. 3 wins.
I'm hopping on the Eagles then. If we're jumping ships, I'm hopping on the Eagles train, all right?
Eagles, you heard him. He's hopping on the Eagles. You know, at least I went to a poverty franchise. You're jumping on the Eagles train right now. The fake tush push that wrecked the whole world.
Hey, now we got the Philly sweep, huh? Did you see that?
Yeah, the Philly sweep is what we like to call it now. But that is enough about the Eagles. We don't care about the Eagles. We are backyard Texans fans. But with that, we're going to jump over. We're going to jump over into the college football slate of this last weekend. We had number 1 Georgia taking down Graham Mertz and Florida 43-20. We called it. It. Graham Mertz hadn't seen Georgia's defense yet. They hadn't seen a real defense. Welcome to the SEC when you guys play Georgia there. Ohio State, we talked about them. They got the 24-10 win against Wisconsin. Florida State, 41-16 winners over Wake Forest. Washington got the win over Stanford, 42-33. Kansas, we called that one. Kansas got the upset win over Oklahoma, 38-33. Did you see they tore the goalpost down and threw them in a lake?
Threw it in a lake. I loved it. Every second, and you know what? They replaced it. They knew it was going to happen. They replaced that thing like the next morning.
The best part, they didn't even stop them. They're like, go throw that baby. Throw it in the oncoming traffic. We don't care. We just knocked off number 6 Oklahoma. We don't care what you do from here on out.
Yeah, the police wasn't stopping. Police wasn't stopping nothing. Nothing.
What were you going to do? Stop? Well, and then I can't remember who was talking. Oh, my fiance was talking to me, and she goes, well, do you think that's like people got arrested for that? I was like, what are you going to do? Arrest the entire stadium? They're all tearing down the
saying
right
now. It was chaotic, but I loved it. It's college football. That's college football. And you know what? Kansas is probably going to get a huge fine for that. And you know what? Kansas will probably pay that fine.
We don't care. That's what I'm saying. They're going to throw money at them. I will support it. I will throw $1 towards the Kansas Jayhawks to put a new field goal post.
I'll give them a nickel. We got
$1.05 from Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. We are donating $1.05 to the fund.
To the Kansas Athletic Department.
To the Kansas Athletic Department. You heard it here first. Anybody can get us in contact with them. We will mail it. No, we shouldn't even mail it because I think the postage might cost more than the amount of money.
Venmo.
We will Venmo you. Just send us your link. But with that, we got to move on here. We got Texas taking down BYU 35-6. Oregon got the win over number 13 Utah. Really thought that Utah was going to pull this one off. Did not. Got their butts kicked 35-6 in that one.
Yeah, I was cheering for Utah. Kind of wanted them to get the upset, but couldn't happen.
They all around sucked in this one. It was just, not good.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. We got one wrong. Penn State got the win over Indiana. It was a close one, though. 33-24. The score looks a lot worse than what it was. That was a close game all game long in that one. Arizona, we called that one with the upset win over Oregon State, 27-24. Wow. A weekend of upsets, some top 25 teams falling. Nothing better. Vanderbilt couldn't get her done, though. They lost to Ole Miss 33-7. Notre Dame, Pitt, that was a tight one, 58-7. Pitt scored late in that one. They got 7 in the fourth there. Notre Dame showed, well, we still got you. Georgia Tech, North Carolina just continues to fall. Georgia Tech got the win in that one, 46-42. 24 points they put up in the second quarter, and in the fourth quarter they put up 22 points against North Carolina's defense. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of points right there. Those 2 middle quarters right there. It's brutal.
You don't see that too often. Nothing in the first, 24 in the second, nothing in the third, then 22 in the fourth. It's like we're gonna play.
They love the even numbers. They love the even numbers, I guess.
That's what I'm thinking. That was quite an impressive showing. They didn't know it, but that was impressive. Duke finally got the realization that they are truly a basketball school.
Yeah, I picked Duke. I picked Duke, and
I know you did.
now really after I realized I made that pick, I'm watching the game. I'm like, now I just feel like an idiot. Should have went with my gut. My gut was Duke, actually. I did go with my gut, and I should have went with my head. I'm like,
after I watched Louisville beat Notre Dame, I was like, Louisville's got something special cooking right there. It's not Lamar Jackson special, but it's something special.
It's something. Something's there.
Looking at our next one, Air Force got the win over Colorado State. I was really rooting for Colorado State in that one. 30-13. They took the loss. Tennessee got the big win over Kentucky, 33-27. Tulane, sadly, still in the rankings there, 30-28. They got the win. UCLA, in comeback fashion, beats Colorado, 28-16. Deion, he's talking about blowing up his entire offensive line. I saw after that one. He said that everybody's job's up for play now, and you just go out and find new ones. He said so. Apparently, Deion's going to the free agent pool and trying to find some offensive linemen now.
Yeah, it looks like he might be headed to the free agent market for that one.
That's what I'm thinking. He might be involved
in college. He's NFL transfers over here.
I think he's in the NFL trade deadline tomorrow. He's got until 3 o'clock to find some offensive linemen to bring into that Colorado program.
You see Trent Williams out there playing left tackle for Colorado. Wait a minute. Hold up.
I did see Tom Brady has got a year of eligibility left in college, so he might be willing to go play for Deion Sanders in Colorado and right the ship and get him to they're way out of college football playoff, but potentially
a bowl game.
Tom
Maybe
Brady.
The Pinstripe Bowl. The Pinstripe Bowl.
They might play the Badgers. They might have the Badgers in the Pinstripe Bowl. I don't know yet.
And you know what? That'd be an entertaining game.
That could be. I would love it. If that game was somewhat nearby, I would go there and watch that because I have to see Deion Sanders in his white cowboy hat. That is just something special. I don't know what that is.
I'm flexing the wrist. Like Shedeur Sanders.
He's flexing his wrist on me, folks. I don't know what. I'm speechless right now. I'm going to move on.
That?
Yeah, I've seen Sanders do it. I've never seen you do it. I'm moving on now. USC survives over Cal, 50-49. It took a late fourth quarter score by USC to win that one. Cal could not get the 2-point conversion late. I tell you what, I'm not impressed by USC. Cal almost got him. I mean, last couple weeks been struggling up and down. I'm not impressed. Not really impressed. Caleb Williams had a pretty good game for him there, but USC's defense continues to struggle. Looking at our last game, I can't believe James Madison survived another week in the top 25. They got the win against Old Dominion, 30-27. So out of those games there, which one would you say surprised you, impressed you, and we're going to go surprised, impressed, and was a complete catastrophe for you?
So surprised probably would have to be, I'd say USC California. That was probably a surprise one for me because I'm like, California isn't like the best football school, and I thought USC would just probably dominate them considering they got Caleb Williams, but clearly they got some defensive issues there. Impressed Kansas, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't say Kansas was surprised us because Kansas kind of been they've been playing some pretty good football, so they definitely impressed me with this win. And then what was the last one? Oh, a complete utter catastrophe. Um, I'd say probably Utah. Utah has to be a complete and utter catastrophe, considering the expectations that they had going up against Oregon and not being able to get the job done at home at Utah.
Just
Yeah, I say
doors.
that's pretty rough. I say that's pretty rough for them. And I want to give a shout out to James Madison. You said that they won. You know, us group of 5 teams, we out here battling it every week on the edge of the top 25. You know what? We stay undefeated. We're making them bowl games. It doesn't matter.
You know what? I've loved it for years because when UCF was undefeated that year and they said, just give us Bama, just give us Bama. Could you imagine if UCF that year went up against that Alabama?
UFC winning.
I mean, you look at when Luke
Or
Fickell
UCF.
led that Cincinnati team into the college football playoff. Just a complete butt kicking. I mean, they just took it. I understand that these teams need their recognition in it, but I think almost what would be better for the college football landscape, I know they're moving it to a bigger college football playoff now, but I think there should almost be, especially with the Big Ten getting bigger and the SEC getting bigger, I think it would be better with 2 college football playoffs. One that is for your Power 5 conferences, and then one that's for your lower your lower graded teams. Because you put up teams like, say, James Madison continues their undefeated streak like they have right now. They're 8-0. They go undefeated on the season. You would have, they're going to jump up in the rankings there, but you put them against Georgia, you put them against Texas or any of those kind of teams, you pretty much know the outcome before the game starts. So I wish there was a way that you could give them not just a bowl game, but a championship game to play for. Not just their conference championship, but a championship game that allows them to go for a national championship against teams that are going to be in their same. It's hard to make a landscape like that,
See,
and who's going to qualify for it. But
I would
that's
agree
just
with you. I would agree with you, but you already look at the FCS, and that's kind of the same scenario. I mean, James Madison came from there.
Yeah.
And then now they're doing this. So it's like, yeah, you could do that, but at the same time, you're kind of, what is it? You're making a third division in D1. And it's like,
Basically, yeah. Basically, you'd be making a third division.
You know, UCF, they got a lot of recognition for playing some pretty tough teams, like further non-conference. I mean, that's what these group of 5 teams got to do if they want to get that recognition. They got to schedule those tough non-conference teams, but then also compete with those teams and win them games if they want to move up and get to the top spot. I mean, now it's going to be top 12 probably in the next coming years. So, I mean,
and definitely pull more recruits too. I mean, you look at games like you play Ohio State in a primetime game, anything like that, that pulls recruits. You look at this game like we're a Wisconsin podcast, so we can talk Wisconsin against Ohio State. Yes, you didn't get the win, but if you had guys, they had a lot of recruits at that game. And if you have guys in that building, they saw what Camp Randall's like under the lights. They saw the atmosphere that you get to play in. And they're like, I want to be a part of that. I think I could be a difference in that. That's what draws guys. So, yeah, like you're saying, get games against those Power 5 teams. But like you're also saying, you got to compete in those games. And that can help in your recruiting trail, too, which will then even out the college football landscape then. We've watched for years. I mean, we could have predicted the college football playoff before the season even started. It was Clemson, Alabama, in the national championship. That's just how it was going to be. I mean, it was just your 2 powerhouses. Now college football is kind of broadening out. It's getting a broader landscape right now where you have teams like Washington. Texas has gotten better. You have teams like Oklahoma in it now. You have Oregon, Florida State.
Tennessee last year.
Tennessee last year, even got into the conversation. Cincinnati got into a college football playoff. I mean, teams are starting to move around there, and it's adding promise in there. I think the 12-team playoff is actually going to widen it out even more, allow teams with 1, even 2 losses to potentially get in. I think that's been a killer for the college football playoff. You look at how many years Wisconsin was a snub out of the college football playoff because they had 1 loss, and it was to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and that just completely took away what their season was before that. They could have had a win against Michigan, but if they lost that game to Ohio State, that's completely killed the season. Now with 12 teams, that really broadens out that ability for teams to jump in there. And I think that will let teams like James Madison get a bid to get into the college football playoff with a little bit more ease.
And I think also what's more broadening it out is NIL. It's becoming more and more of a thing that a lot of recruits look towards when looking for a team to play. And so, I mean, it's becoming harder and harder for Alabama to get some of them top recruits when, there's some other teams that are stealing them from them because they can afford or they're able to give them more money, more prizes, more gifts or whatever. So I think that's also a factor into a lot of these teams becoming more competitive, I'd say. And yeah, a lot of the, I say, American teams, those are the teams that are kind of the ones that get into the conversation. Like whoever, like Cincinnati, when they made it, they were undefeated. And then Tulane last year, I mean, they beat USC in the Cotton Bowl, I believe. And so a lot of those teams, I mean, they're not bad, but it's just the competition that they play, like going up, that they're just not going to be able to reach top, let's say 8, because they just don't play those games. Now, Cincinnati, obviously, they're a one-hit wonder probably, but I mean, there's a lot of good teams, and especially, I mean, I say American, they're in the Group of Five conference, but I mean, that's probably number one of Group of Five conferences right there. So, yeah, I think the 12 team playoff will definitely give a lot of teams more chances, which I think will be one great for college football and more entertaining for fans. Because I just hate seeing the same 4 or 5 teams every single year in the four or in those 2 games and then the championship game. It gets boring to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And let us know what you think. Check us out on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Check it out there. Check it out on Instagram. Let us know what you think about the college football landscape and what you think. What are your reactions to them expanding the field? And anything else you guys got to say to us about Packers, Badgers, anything in between. Tomorrow we have a little bit of Brewer talk. We got to jump into the Brewers. There's been some happenings and we want to talk about it in thorough. So we got to get into that tomorrow. We're going to be checking out what the heck's going on with Braylon Allen and the Badgers. Also looking at the Packers a little bit more tomorrow. Looking at the NFL schedule tomorrow there. We got it all for you guys. And that is about all we have for today, though. So this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow. Deuces.